They said the past was buried. But when Prince William stood alone before a sea of cameras, denying Queen Camilla a seat at the ceremony held in his mother's name, it was clear: Diana's ghost still haunts the House of Windsor. What followed was not just a royal snub, it was a seismic reckoning with a legacy long suppressed, and it sent tremors through the walls of Buckingham Palace. This decision, intimate, personal, defiant, was not announced with trumpets or decrees. It arrived like a whisper carried through marble corridors. When the final guest list for the 26th Annual Diana Award was handed down, Camilla's name was not there. No explanation. No apology. Just absence. And that absence screamed. Behind the scenes, courtiers froze. Staff exchanged glances. King Charles III, still recovering from months of health concerns, reportedly sat motionless in his study for hours. And Camilla, once the controversial mistress turned queen consort, retreated from the spotlight, stunned and, as insiders described, utterly blindsided. But the public saw something else: Prince William stepping into his power not as the dutiful son, but as the avenger of his mother's memory. It all began earlier that year when Charles, acknowledging his limitations amid medical treatments, handed William expanded authority over royal affairs. From finance to family protocol, the Prince of Wales was no longer just preparing to be king, he was, in essence, already ruling. And the first place he turned his gaze: the fault lines between his mother and the woman who replaced her. Insiders close to Clarence's house revealed the explosive confrontation that unfolded weeks before the Diana Awards. In a private meeting, Camilla allegedly requested to attend the ceremony and be acknowledged as a senior royal in the proceedings. William, sources say, did not raise his voice. But his words were cutting: "This is my mother's night. It will not be shared." He reminded the queen consort of past boundaries she had crossed: her push for titles for her children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopez, her rumored influence over duchy expenditures, and what William allegedly called the quiet rewriting of history. In that moment, it was no longer a private family matter. It became a public reckoning. And yet, this wasn't the first time William had chosen memory over monarchy. Ever since the release of the Dyson Report in 2021, which exposed how the BBC's Martin Bashir used deceit to secure his infamous 1995 interview with Princess Diana, William had been on a quiet crusade. The image of his mother, raw and fragile, confessing to a world that didn't protect her, haunted him. "There were 3 of us in this marriage," Diana had said, "and one of them had now become queen." To William, that betrayal wasn't just historical, it was still living and breathing inside the system. Following the report, William made a vow in private: never again would his mother's name be used as a prop, never again would the institution dishonor her sacrifice under the guise of unity. The Diana Award, created in 1999 to honor young leaders inspired by her spirit, became his sacred ground. A place untouched by royal politics. A place Camilla would not be permitted to tread. So when preparations began for the 2025 ceremony, William was uncompromising. Every speaker was vetted. Every visual tribute reviewed. Diana's favorite music would play. Her quotes, etched in silver across the stage. But Camilla's chair would remain empty. William wanted the message to be unmistakable: Diana's memory belonged to her sons, and her sons alone. As the evening of the ceremony arrived, tensions reached a boil. Charles, caught between his wife and heir, reportedly offered to mediate. But William declined. "This isn't about protocol," he told his father. "This is about principle." The event itself was breathtaking. Held in London's historic Guildhall, the hall was draped in white roses, Diana's favorite. Nominees from across the Commonwealth arrived to be honored for activism, bravery, and compassion. Young girls from Ghana who built schools. Teenage boys from Manchester who campaigned for mental health access. Their faces lit up as William entered the room, his expression stoic but kind. His speech, though brief, carried the weight of decades. "Tonight, we honor a woman who gave everything she had to a world that too often gave her nothing in return. My mother's light lives on in those who fight for truth, for love, and for those without a voice." This ceremony is not just a tribute. It is a vow. A vow that her truth will not be forgotten or reimagined. The applause was deafening. Back in Windsor, Camilla sat in silence. She had dressed that evening. She had waited for a call that never came. Her staff, according to multiple reports, attempted to prepare a public response, but Clarence House declined. The Queen Consort would not speak on the matter. Not yet. What followed was a media storm of epic proportions. Headlines blazed across front pages: William draws royal line, Camilla excluded from Diana event, revenge of the heir. Social media erupted with praise, outrage, speculation. The hashtags #DianaForever and #WindsorDivide trended for 3 days. Royal experts took sides. Hugo Vickers called the move bold and necessary. Ingrid Seward, however, warned of a family rupture that may never heal. Meghan Markle's biographer noted that the Sussexes observed the debacle with caution. One source even suggested that Meghan saw it as a chilling foreshadowing of how her own children, Archie and Lilibet, might one day be treated by the firm. As the days passed, King Charles remained uncharacteristically silent. But behind palace doors, he was anything but still. According to a leak from a senior royal aide, Charles convened a private meeting with William and Camilla in early January 2026. The tension in that room, described as ice wrapped in velvet, nearly shattered the fragile peace the monarchy had built since the Queen's death. Camilla allegedly voiced her hurt: "I stood by this family. I stood by you both." William, unmoved, replied, "And my mother died standing alone." It was clear, this was not a momentary feud. This was a battle for history. In the weeks that followed, more changes emerged. William quietly pulled back from joint engagements with Camilla. Invitations were adjusted. Statements released by Kensington Palace began to refer to Diana in present-tense reverence, subtly elevating her memory to almost saint-like status. Camilla, meanwhile, cancelled 2 public appearances, and was spotted visiting her Wiltshire retreat. By March, tabloids were already speculating: Cold War at court, monarchy split by ghosts of the past. But to those paying attention, the shift was less about family squabbles and more about royal identity. William wasn't just excluding Camilla from a single event, he was redefining the monarchy's emotional core. For decades, the institution had worked tirelessly to reframe the Charles-Camilla narrative, to turn scandal into stability. But William, with his quiet rage and steel-clad empathy, had cracked that foundation. He was sending a new message to the public: this monarchy would not forget its sins, and it would not repeat them. In many ways, the move energized the public. A YouGov poll conducted weeks after the ceremony showed William's favorability had climbed 11 points, particularly among voters under 45. Young people saw him as genuine. A man torn between 2 worlds, royal tradition and personal truth, who finally chose a side. And yet, the consequences remain unknown. Will Charles forgive the affront to his wife? Will Camilla continue her duties under the weight of erasure? And will William's stance set a precedent for future heirs, who may one day question their own inheritance? For now, one thing is certain. The boy who walked behind his mother's coffin in 1997, head bowed under a nation's grief, has become the man who now guards her legacy with fire. And in doing so, he may just be rewriting the monarchy, not with a pen, but with a memory.